Hi everyone, welcome to another video from Crafty Terrain. My name's Lee and today we're going to be looking at how to make water effects using a cheap epoxy resin. Before we get started, I just want to say a really big thank you to everyone that has subscribed. Our target was to hit 50 subscriptions in the month of December and we've well surpassed that, so thank you very much for all the support that you're giving to the channel. We're going to aim to try and push on now to 100 subs for January the 1st, and if we can hit that, we're going to plan to do a giveaway in January. So once again, thank you for the support. Okay, so we're going to have a look then how to make this cheap water effect using epoxy resin. This is our first attempt at using epoxy resin at water, so if we make some mistakes, we'll be making them together as we go. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so this is everything that we're going to be using today. So we're going to need some paints to paint the bottom of the swamp and the edges. We're going to need some Luke's APS modelling compound. We're going to use some flocks, some reeds, and then we're going to be using to bond it together this resin. This is from the pound shops. It only costs £1 and we've actually got 3 of these to fill in the water. Then we're going to need a sharp knife to cut the base, some sandpaper, pencil and some paint brushes. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so on your Foamex we're going to start by marking out the area in which we want our pond or swamp to be. So we're going to just draw a roughly oval natural sort of shape like so, and then that's what we're going to be using. The next step now is to take your sharp knife and to cut along all the edges like so, and just be careful of your fingers when you're using your sharp blade. So just want to come in at one of the sides and then sort of just trace round. Usually takes a few times to just cut round to get all the way through. Let's see if that's coming out. Not quite. So then once you've got that out, what we're going to do to the edges here, we're going to bevel off the edges so you get a nice smooth edge. You'll probably go from this side. So you can see how that starts to get smoother. The idea is that that will then just nicely blend into your battle board that you're playing on. see that's all the way around the edges, so it's not smooth. But the next step then is to take your sandpaper and to just rub out all the blade marks around the edge. We can see this one here. Now all the blade marks are gone. What I'll do is I'll get all the rest of that done and then we'll come back. Okay, so that's all been done now. So the edges are nice and smooth, so it's going to sit and blend in with the battle board. The next step that we're going to do from here now is to take our modelling compound and build up a rim around the edge, then so we can apply the resin in the middle. Okay, so we're going to take our modelling compound now, get it into a tub or a bowl or whatever you've got really. Then you're going to add some water, and we're looking for a consistency that is a bit like cottage cheese. And then just use your fingers so it soaks up all the water. Let's move and mix it round. If it's too wet, you can add some more. If it's too dry, just pop a bit more water in. Just remember to go a little bit at a time. You don't want to add too much. You don't have to waste lots of your modelling compound. Okay, so that's a little bit wet, so you can just add a bit more. Okay, that's looking good now. Okay, so that's, if you can see that, that's the sort of consistency that we're looking for. Okay, and how we're going to use that is to build up the edge. We're going to place it on around the edges and create a bank. So whatever the depth is that you're looking for the swamp or the pond is what you're going to be left with. Okay, so I'll get that finished off and then we can come back and have a look how it's looking. Okay, it's all built up now. As you can see, we've got nice depth in here and around the edges. So I'll just bring that in to shot for you here. So you can see this will hold all the resin now when we apply it to look like the water. So we've got about 1/2 inch there of depth, okay? Okay, we're gonna go to the next step now. The next step is I want to create a base for the swamp. So what we're going to be using for that is little bits of grit and stone and some sand. And then the idea is here we're going to apply glue to the bottom and then pop our rocks in and then fill it with sand. Okay, so I'm just going to get the glue laid on the bottom and then we'll come back and show you putting the rocks in. I'm using Luke's APS fast drying basing glue. If you don't have any of this, you can use just PVA, but I'm trying to do this quick as possible so we can get it all filmed. So just apply this into the base and then just use a brush, a small brush, to spread it out. Cover all the bottom of the pond. Okay, and then what we're going to do from there then, we want to create the illusion of depth. So if you use bigger stones at the edge, that will make the swamp look shallow around the edges and then deeper in the middle. So just use little pieces of grit and just drop them in randomly around the edges. Okay, and then in the middle, just use your sand. You can either pour or just sprinkle the sand in. Okay, I'll get that finished off and then we'll come back and show you how it looks. Okay, so for the next stage now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the base of the swamp where the resin's going to go over the top. What I'm going to look to do is try and paint around the edges a lighter green and then in the middle a little bit darker, so it creates that illusion of depth. So here in my paint I've got a green, a off-white like a grey, and a brown to make the green darker. So I'm going to start by taking some of my green and just mixing it in. With the lighter colour, and then I'm just going to brush this round the edges. And then if the paint's still wet, we'll bring the darker green in and sort of blend the edges like a wet blend, like you would do on a mini as you graduate your highlights. And then change to the darker green and just blend that in. Check that you haven't left no white and that you can't see anything, because then once you put the resin over the top you won't be able to go back in and touch up any areas that you may have missed. Okay, so you sort of get that sort of look. Then what I'm going to do is paint all the edges with the dark brown and just change brush. So I'm just going to go around now, paint all this brown, okay, all my base as well, and then when I get that done we'll come back and show you how that looks. Okay, so that's all painted up now. The next stage we're going to do is just going to add some nice little touches of like these little vines. You can get these off eBay or any hobby shops really. And I'm just going to use some super glue and just put them at the ends, so they're coming out of the swamp. Okay, so pop the super glue on, then just get the vines and just pop them into place. So they look like they're going to be growing out of the water and over the sides. You can put as many as you want or not that much. on a few strands. Just go for one more lot over here. And then once they've dried and they've set on, you can just get a pair of scissors and snip off any of the long ends. And then I'm just going to add some of this reindeer moss or lichen and just glue some of that around the edges as well. And just tear this off, place it where you want. So that gives you all your vegetation that's going to be growing in the swamp. I'm going to let that dry and then we'll be coming back and putting the resin in to finish off. So we're using our pound shop resin. This is our first time using the resin. So break this cap off and then just use the injections to push down and mix it in the cup. Like so, and then I'm going to add a little bit of green ink just so we get the colour that we want into the resin, and just mix that up. And once that's mixed, you can just pour from the cup. Like I said, this is our first time using resin. Okay, so there's the finished piece. We had a little bit of a mess when we was applying the resin. As I said, it is our first time making water effects and using resin. That's taken 2 tubes of this, it's a pound, to fill that up. So we mixed it in the cup and then we started to apply. To get the air bubbles out, we just used a straw and then you just blow over the top to remove the air bubbles. I'm quite happy with how that looks for our first attempt. The plan is to make some more so we can have like a marshy, boggy area on the battlefield if we want it. If we come to play Lord of the Rings, we can use it as the Dead Marshes or something along them lines. So for a first attempt, I'm quite happy with how that looks. Okay everyone, that brings us to the end of today's video. Hope you've enjoyed us using epoxy resin for the first time. If you have, please leave us a like. If you want to see more from everyone at Crafted Terrain, then hit the subscribe button and remember to click that bell. Have a great day.